best!
Tommy.
Hello and welcome to the first BLAST R6 Major in Copenhagen, Denmark. Today marks the beginning where we have 16 teams in total competing for the final 8 spots. The team's already unplugged into play. I hope you guys are just as excited as we are.
I've been waiting to get out here to Copenhagen. We're finally here. We've got all the big teams coming in.
I'm actually so hyped. I think that the NA, EU, and LATAM games coming up here, we've really got some good games.
Well, I'm intrigued to see which of these roster changes will come out on top.
I think M80 in particular, they're a little bit younger. They have a little bit more inexperience with it. But you can see with every series that these guys go through, they become more fluid. Their comms become more put together and composed, and they just get on the ball with ideas a lot more quickly.
M80 was the team to beat for a lot of teams that I talked with behind the scenes.
You have a group of extremely good players, right? You've got that sort of former X-Set core of Diaz, Gomez, and Kino, and now you've got the additions of Iconic and Spoit.
I ain't gonna say it nice.
I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. My childhood was pretty much me and my parents. I was an only child, completely focused on basketball. Picked up my first basketball when I was 3 years old. I was obsessed all the way through up until I think my freshman year of high school when I switched to gaming. I was one of the only African-American students in my grade. I went to predominantly Caucasian high school, so just kind of blending into the culture and just kind of seeing where I fit into the culture was always a struggle. Being treated differently always kind of has an effect on you. Just trying to remain myself, know my values, and just kind of grow up through all of it. It was a school trip. It was the end of 8th grade, and we were on the bus before dinner. It was just kind of like all the kids just ganging up on me. So it was just like, it was kind of a shock, like a rush of emotions, kind of getting pushed around and stuff like that. Just kind of like feeling like a real outlier. In the moment, I kind of just blew up, reacted. It was more of a struggle back then than it is now to me. But just kind of being a kid, kind of talking to your parents, them instilling wisdom and experiences that they've had, dealing with it, and just kind of knowing how to go about it and handle yourself under those situations. When I first started playing, my parents only allowed me to play on the weekend. They didn't want me to get distracted from grades or anything like that. So I'd have to sneak playing during the week and getting better. I just felt like I could do it professionally, and I had seen like the esports scene growing.
Iconic, who just joined not even a month ago at this point in time.
I just took the leap and went for it. It was around like sophomore year of high school when I started seeing like my first checks come in. My parents saw that. They kind of felt more open about it. I started to teach them more about the game, and they kind of saw that like, okay, this is kind of like basketball. He has to work, he has to practice after it, he has to get better at what he wants to do. So we're gonna trust him with that. My parents owned a restaurant when I was in high school, so I would work weekdays, weekends, so I could have like a flexible schedule to be able to get home in time to scrim. It's kind of inspiring how when they found out that like this is not just like a hobby, this is like something that he really wants to do seriously and full time, and it has actual potential to make money and grow. You know, they're traveling around the world to come support me and be there for me when I compete. So, you know, I just thank them for everything. Who I am and who my parents raised me to be, just kind of bringing that swagger and confidence that I had and carried with me into Siege. And I feel like M80, they value that.
If we talk about M80, obviously, you know, they had this kind of Brazilian core that came into NAL.
M80, obviously kind of the evolution of XSET. That last year I said was my favorite team to watch, the most dynamic, the most exciting. Now they are perhaps even more so.
M80 is the most combustible, semi-legal, explosive you can get in the United States, or at least it was for a long time. For me, M80 really embodied kind of the firepower and the aggression, if you will, that I like to see come out on our teams. Also, many years ago in the 90s, M80, it was a great nightclub that we used to frequent in college in Boston. It's still ingrained in my mind, and you know, it's okay to have a little fun as well. So yeah, sure, that definitely had an impact on it. I spent the first 9 years of my career practicing law. I was an intellectual property attorney until I got bored with that business and wanted to move into gaming, which is a passion of mine. I was a co-founder at XSET, and prior to XSET, I had built a number of other gaming-focused companies like Framerate, Rooster, and Gambler. M80 for me really is a culmination of all the good things about, I think, an esports brand that I wanted to see built, and I thought we could do something really special. I'm passionate about Siege, I always have been. When I moved into esports, it was a game that I felt that I absolutely had to get into, one way or the other. We were able to do it in a very difficult way, but we did it. I probably sacrificed some personal things for that. A lot of long nights. I think if I tell my wife that there's another championship match or another qualifier that I just absolutely have to make and I can't miss it, one more of those, I might be out the door. But I want M80 to be one of the most successful and dominant esports organizations in the world. So I'm making those sacrifices. Giving some of these younger players an opportunity to really develop themselves is something I take a lot of pride in. I'm very hands-on the esports aspect of it, but obviously as a CEO, your job is also to run the company, make sure it never runs out of money, make sure it continues to operate as a business. So, you know, identifying and understanding ways that we can help esports grow, ways that we can grow as a company. For me, being able to do this on a day-to-day basis doesn't feel like work to me.
What's up, buddy? On the one, Boss and I are gonna throw flashes, and then on the one, both of you guys start cooking. So you guys can hit at the same time. If he's there, he's dead. On the one. On the one. On the one, we throw flashes, and on the one, you guys start cooking.
We should say like
Okay,
this.
too. I mean, just.
We should say like this.
It has to be properly timed.
Dave's gonna coordinate, so we should do like this. Dave's gonna say, start flashing. You're gonna start flashing, and he's gonna time the nade with 3, 2, 1. You know, like he's gonna start cooking 3, 2, 1. Yeah, and we toss the nade on 1 and go.
It's all about timing on this strat. It's so simple, but we need to make sure timing is right.
It's not about even, like, timing.
If the guys are rushing you these, you just...
But the biggest thing is
It's not easy, right? It's not easy to build winning teams. It's not easy to win championships. But if I just wanted to make money and run a business, there's probably 1,000 other businesses I could do besides esports. If you took winning out of the equation, I probably wouldn't be really interested in doing what I'm doing right now.
If they're holding red, are we gonna clear that early? Are we gonna?
Teams are always playing a guy below 1 bar.
Bro, I think we should do with this line. You can go buck.
Yeah, I can go lounge. I can go through like stock side or kitchen all.
What I do, I either kill that guy or I just sprint by and go into gen if they leave the hole open.
I'm just trying to be a killer, and I'm just trying to work really hard. I'm trying to build a successful business. I've never really been one to care too much about what people thought we could do.
Bro, if we get the bathroom all open, we should not stall. Because it's so easy to play without bathroom control. So easy.
You know, tell me I'm gonna fail. Tell me it's not gonna happen, and just watch, right?
We are going to be getting into it here just under a minute now. Our teams are getting prepared to jump into the matchups. Let's get ourselves ready for it. Like we talked about before, it's a best of one. No elimination contention just yet, but this is a very, very tough group draw situation.
I hope you guys are just as excited as we are.
For pregame, I read the Daily Stoic. It's a book about just, affirmations for each day of the month. That's really good at just instilling that wisdom in my mind, just kind of making my mind an iron fortress. I like to meditate, and then I do a cold shower, do the breathing exercises. I like to kind of be at a calm, kind of tired state before the match. Either way, it's an amazing experience, but it's just kind of how locked in are you. All the other teams, all trying to perform at that highest level. And then when the match starts, my body just gets amped up and just ready to play.
We're finally here. We've got all the big teams coming in right now.
It's going to be a set of good matchups, I believe.
Welcome to the Oceanic Nationals. We've been seeing this region kind of have a resurgence in a way we didn't see it before.
We're going to be starting off with W7M Esports up against Team BLAST.
I'm just happy to be able to come to an event like this with a team that I'm super confident could even take this entire event. I'm extremely excited because, I've been playing this game since it came out. I have a lot of confidence being able to take any team. My first team offer was a very big moment for me, as I'd say it essentially changed my life. I grew up from a bit all over the place in Australia. So I started quite far south in the capital of Canberra, and then I moved up north to the Sunshine Coast where I spent most of my time. A lot of the years of my life leading from early childhood maybe to late high school, kind of merging into where I started playing esports, I was spending it either gymnastics, athletics, anything I could do to just go outside and push myself. So that was definitely the direction that I wanted to head 100% before I found Siege. During around the end of high school, I was dealing with a lot of mental road bumps. One, where I lived, two, with my family, and three, kind of like how the school system worked. It was a very enclosed space where you couldn't really talk to other people, especially if you're already dealing with what I was dealing with at the time. I was actually diagnosed with like severe depression, but at the same time a lot of other factors, whether it came to just general school, which I couldn't fit into the school system that we had in Australia. I couldn't focus, I could do things, but just the bare minimum of what I could do, it just wasn't for me. kind of backing that with like a lack of family support and just a lack of understanding, everything just kind of piles onto you. But with a lot of expectations too. So I feel like I turned to just playing games in my spare time. I was essentially planning on taking my own life. I think it just kind of was a distraction in the meantime. The days leading up to that, I just jumped on my last game and I was like, let's just play some games until it's nighttime. I was just playing ranked by myself. I just ran into a team who was considered like the best in Australia, which the bar was pretty low at the time. That being the best in Australia didn't mean much. A guy called Wildman actually messaged me. I love that guy. I might not have realized it at the time, but it did prevent me from doing what I was going to do. I kind of was already at mentally like at rock bottom. So I kind of thought, what could go wrong with me trying this? Like what could hurt? That turned into my first team ever Maelstrom. Sort of connecting with people from all around, from all different ages, and just being able to talk to them ignited something. At the time, there was just this kind of lack of understanding from my family, my friends, etc. During my 18th birthday, it was actually, there was a bit of a dispute between me and my family, which had nothing to do with me at all. But just kind of, at the time, it was very, yeah, I'm trying to word this in a way that isn't like detailed. There was a dispute that didn't put me in the best mental place to be able to play. Like I wasn't able to get on for practice, which at the time was practice leading up to my first ever event. So from there, it appeared that my teammates had already kind of decided that I wasn't committed, and there was a bit of a miscommunication with why I wasn't able to show up. So the second the event was over, I was immediately pushed to the side for another player, which I completely respect their decision to do that, because the player they got in over me was Virtue, which he's far leagues better than anything that I could imagine to be, so.
Looking to accomplish this, 1 kill away, and it's Volps to die! A new generation pick up where legends left off! World champions!
I just kind of considered myself to be done, but kind of figured that it'd be silly for me to waste 8 years nearly of experience. So when the manager Golden reached out for a coaching position, I thought, why not?
Coming to this event is pretty huge for me. You know, it's a big experience, like a life experience. You know, being into like a whole new country. It kind of kicked in, you know, when I was getting onto the plane. You know, like, oh my God, we're going to Denmark, going to a major. And then even being here now, seeing like all the setup, yeah, it's pretty insane. You know, I've never done anything like this big in my life. So I'm kind of just like soaking it all in.
Before we got here, I couldn't really visualize or picture it. But now that we're here, it feels quite natural. You know, it feels like we're supposed to be here. We're the only Oceanic team to make it out of our league and compete on the international stage. I'm very confident in our ability to show up on game day and play the same as we have the entire year so far.
I think this is probably the best team OS has produced.
and we have the best players in the region right now, so I think this is the best chance we have at making it to the end.
What? It finally happened! We finally get to send a team to the major from OS, directly from OS!
I would definitely say that Team Bliss are the underdogs simply for being from Oceania.
The level of Oceanic play is, of course, far lower.
We came in as the bottom-seeded team in our group, even though we were undefeated in our league, and we're the only team in our group that finished first in our league.
Great, they won every game, that's awesome. Yeah. But now you're versing the big boys, right? Now you're versing the big boys, right? The big boys, right? The big boys.
We're very, very keen to prove that we can compete, even though we're from that region.
The difference between an Australian org and like an American org is a lot. They definitely have more backing and funding to put into teams and just like more facilities to help those teams and players.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of investment in our region.
We definitely have some talented teams that contest with the best, but we just don't really have that support in Australia compared to all the other regions.
Obviously, it would be nice to show that we aren't just the small trash region that a lot of people think. There is a lot of complaining on Twitter that we don't deserve what we have.
It is partly because we haven't proven ourselves yet, so that's what we're looking to do at this major.
We're Australia's best, and we want to compete with the best.
If we talk about M80, obviously in the most recent Rostermania, they picked up Iconic and then bring Sploit over.
Sometimes you have to let go of players that you care a lot about. It's the result of all the things that we put into it is the winning. That's what you get at the end.
Living with each other is probably one of the best experiences of my life. We're like a big family. Those guys are my best friends.
I joined this roster because of one reason, and that's winning.
You just gotta take their soul, like you just gotta destroy them.
Top it. Yeah, let's go. Come on.
No matter what team you are, no matter how good you have been, if you're not good in the present, you will lose everything.
This is Rainbow Six at its best!
It's definitely better to let the play do the talking, but yeah, tend to stay clear of the people that have big egos.